I don't think I'm breaking any new grounds by saying that Murder Drones by Glitch Productions is a legendary show. It balances so many vital elements of storytelling itself in a way that accents its story and themes while still not going too far into any of them to the point of being on the nose. However, I'd like to go over my life-changing experience and just why Murder Drones means so much to me. I'd also appreciate if you'd subscribe. I'm not a big member of the Murder Drones community. I'm not one of those people who are recognized by the entire community on Reddit or YouTube. I'm just a small YouTuber trying to build a name for myself. It is my goal to eventually become such a big YouTuber and be so widely known on the subreddit and in the YouTube community. One more thing. Yes, I'm reading from a script. I tend to lose track of my train of thought and to lose everything I want to say. So I had to write it down in the moment where I could properly articulate my thoughts. This is still all my opinions and it's completely genuine. My monotonous voice may also hinder how genuine it sounds, but I guess that's a hand I drew. If you dislike the use of a script, that's fine. Feel free to dislike the video and watch someone else. I'll start with the most surface level and shallow detail about Murder Drones that I can. The animation. There's just something so great about it that I can't help but feel obsessed with it. The robots fit the unique 3D animation perfectly, and it as a result creates a steady and fluent animation that fluctuates in application but almost never fluctuates in quality. With a few fluctuations it does have there always being better. From the first episode to the third, you can see there's always an excellent use of dark lighting and some bright color in tandem, and yet it still maintains an ominous mood which only continues to get more and more creepy as the scene progresses. Now that I'm this far in, I also know that Murder Drones Episode 4 mastered that same detail completely. The unique character designs really help, especially with the disassembly drones. Disassembly drones, despite being basically robot vampires, are laced with seemingly biblical imagery, and put the vision of basically a robot angel into my head, which is a great addition that contrasts with their frightening and murderous characterization. The sharp blade wings, claws, the glowing yellow X all seem to paint them in a creepy lighting, but each of them has their own moment of humanization that breaks this exterior, and they have the normal, more civilized looking designs when they aren't using this creepy stuff. The mood can evolve with the characters, and the animation really accents this, while the ever-expansive background design really helps hammer it in and affects the atmosphere. Yes, I know half the background designs because CGI. Still, it's very well thought out and designed. Really helps hammer it in and affects the atmosphere to fundamentally alter your view of everything that's around you. Some people may not like such. You could argue that atmosphere alone shouldn't get so much emphasis, and that I'm spending a redundant amount of time on something that doesn't matter. But in my opinion, mood is one of the most important and fundamental parts, and changing it can change the course of an entire series. Mood is what the creators used to introduce characters and scenes in a lighting that is true to their interpretation of events, which is absolutely vital, as no interpretation is as valid as the creators. However, time to move past that. Mood is a very important thing, in my opinion, but that's definitely not the only thing I'd like to address. And because of that, I'm moving on to other things that would need some time to shine. Murder Drones is probably the best story I've ever seen. I know it seems simple in episode 1, but the way they handle it alone is enough to boost the quality of such story, and then they manage to continuously evolve it further. New elements and mysteries keep getting added, from Absolute Solver's proper debut in episode 2, and the name drop of Sin in episode 4 respectively, after both were teased in Ep 1. To Nori's backstory, even the identity of a mysterious worker drone, that almost definitely ended up becoming a 4th member of N's squad. This is probably my favorite part personally, even more so than the mood. I love how each episode, from what I thought at the start would be simple, introduced far more mysteries and questions than they answered. Glitch has a lot that they want to tell, and Liam and Luke have clear ambition. This shows an extreme story and constant escalation. They've shown us so much big stuff, but each thing they show us feels like it just slaps us with a bigger mystery. I'm very interested in this, and I'm going to keep staying forever till I can figure out what this mystery is, either by theories or just by the episodes themselves revealing it. I have no idea when this gigantic mystery will truly start, but if we look at all the pieces being subtly placed on the board, it's safe to say that it isn't happening yet, or anytime soon. After the next episode, people will probably, after the next episode, episode 5, has aired, people will probably say that such a sentence aged like milk, but let's not forget that the Absolute Solver at all was a gigantic answer to how N grew his head back, and yet it still was an infinitesimal fraction of a fraction of the mystery. Even if his next episode, episode 5, provides some answers that seem gigantic, I doubt it will even equate to 1/100th of it all, to a single hundredth of it all. I don't even know where it begins. However, I will say that I believe Nori is very close to the censor. I'll discuss this later in the video when I get to the theory segment. I should probably note ahead of time that my theories were created before episode 4, about episode 4 in plenty of cases here, but I lagged behind on the script. Some of my theories I know now are wrong, and some are dead on. I will give my theories straight up and then contrast the answered ones with what I expected. But that's still only when I get to the theories. I loved the first episode completely and would watch 20 episodes following the exact same trajectory that the episodes seemed to be teasing, but they pulled out the rug and showed us that it was something so much bigger. As someone who has been theorizing about Absolute Solver from episode 1, I was shocked when it officially was introduced as early as episode 2, and then it got crazier at such a fast rate. My view of Absolute Solver completely altered from me not knowing what to expect of it. Up till episode 2, I just viewed it as a murder drone program that probably helped their problem-solving ability, and I only really cared about it as proof that Uzi was going to become a murder drone. So, seeing it become something greater was really shocking and perfect. Next is the music. Do I really need to say anything here? The OST is slapped perfectly. It contributes so much to the horror, to the intensity, to the shock, and to the overall mood and tone of every scene. I'm surprised that music could add so much, but it really does. I can't wait for the episode 4 soundtrack to be released because it was really good. That fight between Uzi and V. Though fight is a strong word, given that V got curb stomped. Then there's the humor, which is right up my alley. I love a variety, but meta jokes about existential dread and moral repression via jokes that could get me demonetized, like what Uzi says to try and get out in episode 1, and a certain end scene of a pilot. Even just a joke, as they say in Russian. Whoops, I should have predicted that someone could escape out of a ventilation shaft using discarded mirrors as stairs. I'm not doing a Russian accent, I cannot do that. But anyway, it was even funnier because if you switch the audio track to Russian, then the Russian dubbed version of the show will play. And in that one, instead of speaking Russian like she does in the English version, Doll will speak English and says the entire thing, except she'll say, as they say in English, which is perfect. I also, of course, love the characters. Uzi, N, V, Doll, and J. They're all unique characters that interest me heavily. J is an irredeemable monster who is so far written very well and is definitely going to continue to be an interesting threat and villain throughout the entire series. V has a good heart, but has been heavily distorted by J.C. Jensen and doesn't want to change for the better, but still has potential, and she does still care about N. This is an interesting dynamic that, I guess it could be seen as a little cliche, but it's all really interesting. It contributes to a great story. Uzi seems like a standard edgy teen, but done in a way that was likable from episode 1 onward, and was expanded upon so brilliantly. And episode 4 was just insane. The way Uzi has slowly went from cliche, even though it was cliche in an endearing way, it was still so great. I know I've been saying this a lot, but they've evolved the characters to fit into the story, just as they evolved the story. Each character has been growing and becoming more developed very quickly. Feels like they have an entire character arc each episode. Well, that one is kind of just my opinion. Doll is the classic cliche revenge story trope, but the way she fits into the series and her use of absolute solver, as well as her reactions and her needing to eat worker drones, was really clever and did a good job at making her a great character. When I first saw her at the end of episode 2, I had absolutely no idea what to expect. The Doll was just such an ominous character from the start. Anyway, as you might notice, I'm wearing something different right now. That's because today is a different day that I'm recording this. Or I might just not show the footage of me, but nah, who cares. Anyway, you'll probably experience a very sudden cut in the footage or the audio. That's because there was a very loud interruption, and I had to leave for the day. I had to do something else. About where I was explaining that, real quick by the way, I'm going to mention this just because looking back I found it very hilarious. I made a mistake and I mentioned jokes that could get me demonetized on YouTube, but I don't really need to worry about that now, do I? I don't have enough right now. Maybe in the future after these videos, but I do not have enough people watching to get me demonetized. I don't get why I even thought of that joke. It was hilarious though. Anyway, back where I was last time, a doll is the classic cliche revenge story trope, but the way she fits into the series, her use of Absolute Solver, and her interactions, as well as her needing to eat worker drones, was really clever. Did a good job at making her a great character. By the way, just warning you, we might need to do another one of those sudden cuts soon, because I am 90% sure we're going to get interrupted again. But, anyway, I know everyone already talks about how great N is, and I personally think Uzi was heavily underrated. She's tied with N for my favorite, if not my favorite upright. Anyway, or outright. But N is also brilliant, from being adorable and wholesome to being the one murder drone to truly question the morality of his actions. N is a great character for both the cuteness and the simple fact that N is truly a very deep character. It gives us a look into the nuance of the series' tone and morality, which N doesn't get enough appreciation for. Everyone just always talks about how adorable N is, which is fair. I think everyone agrees about that, but there's a lot of moral depth. Another sudden cut. Am I right? Yeah, there was another interruption. This time it didn't take a full day, though. Anyway. And here we have it, folks. The theories. Ready? My general theories consisted of this. Uzi would become a murder drone in episode 5. This was proven wrong, as it happened in episode 4. I mean, technically a zombie drone, but, you know, they're similar enough. They count. My only piece of evidence towards it happening in episode 5 was that in a Cartoon Universe video, Michael Kovach, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce his name, Michael Kovach, he made a joke about it recently. Michael Kovach confirmed that episode 5 was his favorite to work on so far. Of course, I was in a Cartoon Universe Q&A. Another general theory of mine, does it count as a theory? As a theory, if a lot of people came to the exact same conclusion, I'm counting it anyway. Since I did come to a conclusion myself as well, without help. Anyway, the theory is that Uzi was slowly becoming a murder drone as a result of Absolute Solver, and that Absolute Solver was transferred via Uzi surviving the nanites due to it being a program that the murder drones used, and Uzi being shown to have it coincidentally after N's Absolute Solver was shown to be blocked by administration. I still believe this theory, though episode 2 and 3 did slightly complicate that. It is possible now that Uzi inherited it from Nori somehow, but I'm still not sold about that, and I feel like Nori having Absolute Solver will be complicated in its own right. I have a theory for why they both have such a similar Absolute Solver that could still explain it not being an inherited thing, which I'll go over in a bit. Anyway, I've heard other theories about why she'd become a murder drone that are very different than my own, but I personally don't believe them. For example, I've heard about Uzi possibly becoming a murder drone as a result of Jay's EMP secretly adding her AI and having it control Uzi, but I severely doubt this. It's a very cool theory. I could be incredibly interested in it, but I just sadly don't believe it. I don't believe it due to the Absolute Solver symbol flashing in Uzi's eye as early as episode 1, right before Jay shot Uzi with the SMG. which is a decent bit before she gets hit with the EMP, implying she's already had absolute sulfur before. And as we've seen, absolute sulfur is the main thing that's causing this conversion to a murder drone, or a zombie drone. However, I have a feeling that zombie drones, the end goal of them is that they become a murder drone. Anyway, on to the episode 4 theories that are either proven wrong or proven right. Of course, we already know, but some are wrong, some are right. My first theory for episode 4 was that Nori was not the drone shown. This was, and that it was instead Uzi. This theory was proven right. I kind of don't want to call it a theory because it felt incredibly obvious. Seeing the drone in the trailer alone convinced me to abandon the Uzi becomes a murder drone in episode 5 theory, just because it was so obvious to me, but yeah. But I know another sudden cut. Anyway, feels like the world is trying to make this difficult. Anyway, but I know some people expected it to be Nori, and I'd probably sound like what's the word? I'd probably sound like a why do I keep forgetting the word? Probably kept sounding like condescending asshole there. Or like, anyone. Anyway. But I do know a lot of people did expect it to be Nori. Speaking of which, my next theory about episode 4 was the following. Nori would not show up herself. She would have a little lore, but nothing else. Nothing notable. Nothing that would really tell us who she is. This was right on the money as well. I just had the feeling that Nori was much closer to the center of this grand mystery, and that introducing Nori so early, provided she's somehow alive, which I'm 50-50 on, knowing how Glitch likes to mess with us. I don't know which one would be a bigger troll, if Nori was actually dead the whole time, or if she was actually alive. But anyway, I felt like introducing Nori so early, provided that she's still alive, would really mess with the story due to a vital mystery being answered so early. I theorized that Uzi would become a murder drone using absolute sulfur, which was right, but technically also wrong, as a zombie drone does have some distinctions. I theorized that Uzi would somehow be altered and would start using it absolute sulfur way too much through entering the water from one of the teaser images, causing her to succumb to the absolute sulfur. This was, of course, because in one of the teasers, there was a picture of Uzi in the water. It was an ominous-looking picture, and the creator said, "Don't enter the lake," which production said on the community post of the teaser. However, not only was this wrong, it's a little more than just that. The entire thing, the scene, wasn't even in the episode at all, and it might never be in the series at all, which is kind of sad, as I'm curious of what the lake could be and how it is special. I still have a bunch more theories for future episodes. Some are very generic, as I'm not a very creative person, and even though other people have said similar things, I'd like to cover them anyway. In episode 2, an unnamed worker who we've never seen was introduced, and she just happened to be working for Tessa. This has caused a large part of the community, including myself, to believe that she's a member of N Squad, which seems to be the case as of episode 4. I don't get why I said seems like that, like I was going to call it into question. I'm not, but anyway. Due to N seeming to get a flashback to a drone that looks like her when picking up the zombie's drone VCR. I definitely have to say that confirms it. But I'd like to adapt this theory into something much more wild with this new information. I think Sin is a unique strand of the Absolute Solver, possibly only carried by the nanites, and that it's slightly different from the rest, causing conversions from worker drone to murder drone in very different ways, starting with the creation of zombie drones. We have no way of knowing how N, J, and V became this way, how they became murder drones, but they seem to have just been modified by the humans. But given how this other member seems to be a zombie drone, or showed up in the zombie drone VCR, implying that they were a zombie drone, this likely means that she was altered via different means. I believe it was the same thing that happened to Uzi, and that Sin turns worker drones into murder drones by messing with their coding and systems, causing them to slowly go out of control, creating organic matter as zombie drones, and that over time they'll eventually overuse it and their problems will get even worse, creating murder drones. Anyway, I think that it does this because I feel like it would make sense if it was a special Absolute Solver strand built to kill any workers that survive the nanites. If a worker gets stung with the nanites, and somehow manages to survive, then they'll just become a zombie drone themselves down the line, and they'll be able to either spread it yet again, or just kill more workers, and there would basically be an extra murder drone on their hands to help kill the workers. And if it doesn't, I assume it'll just return in some way via some kind of transmission to the user, to the original murder drone with the nanites. So it would basically be a win-win, which is exactly the kind of cruel trick J.C. Jensen would pull. Anyway, furthermore, I'm almost 100% sure that Sin is not only... I'm not 100% sure about Sin being the Absolute Solver. That's just my theory. And I know Glitch likes to throw curveballs there. I believe that Sin... I'm 100% sure about the administration part, but I believe that Sin is an administration strand controlling the rest to a much greater extent and being the true center of it all. My only evidence for this is a scene from the pilot where we see inside N's visor and the error messages from being shot, where it says, "String Absolute Solver blocked by administration CYN." The exact same way Sin is spelled, the name Sin is spelled, and this implies that, of course, Sin is an administrator. So since I theorize that it's an Absolute Solver strand, I'm assuming this is some greater, smarter, and more dangerous strand of Absolute Solver that was built for this kind of thing. That was built to control and manipulate the rest. I'd also like to wager that Cabin Fever Labs was where the these nanite strands were created, and that all the pre-disassembly drones, like Nori with the absolute solver, most likely were experimented on with a non-acidic strand of these nanites to give them such abilities. Of course, I don't have that much evidence, but I think the little I do have at least justifies how I've come to my speculative conclusion. I've also seen a theory that Sin was just the name of the fourth squad member, and that when V said, "New bodies, same horrors, huh, Sin?" that it was actually Sin was so good with Absolute Solver that she was able to basically possess oozing, and that's what they were talking about. That is a very cool theory that I genuinely think is very likely and very possible. Sadly, it might happen of my own, but at the same time, I really don't care either way. That's a win-win, because I love both theories. I'd love it to be true, though I've got to stick to my own theory. I don't want to just follow someone else's completely. And, as much as I like both to happen, I gotta try to win the race. I gotta try to have a chance of my theory beating someone else's. Yes, I know I have a big ego. Now that I've spoken all of this, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed and liked the video. Maybe shared it as well. Right now I'd like to reiterate that I'm not some big person. Neither the Reddit, the fandom, the community on YouTube, none of them really know my name. It is my goal to become big like the other murder drones, YouTubers, and Redditors that are so famous today, such as Crisising. Yes, I'm aware of the drama of him, not taking a side on it, just saying that I want to grow and become such a big member of a community, which Crisising has always been. We other, OGs. I've been in a community since very close to the start. I'd consider myself one, but I'm not in the sense that I've been around making videos. Not even close. Anyway, I want to become a big member like Crisising. I don't know how to pronounce this name. Sorry. Zzsark Stormbeard. Sorry for pronouncing your name wrong, which I probably did. But at the same time, you're not going to see this video because I'm irrelevant. Anyway, yet again, there was more drama with Zzsark, but as far as I can see, Zzsark realized the mistake and moved past it, which is a goated thing. Or Inferno YT, the only one who is mostly active. Any likes, subscriptions, or shares would be greatly appreciated. It could help me grow the channel so much, and it would really help spread my name to the community. Anyone who helps me with this goal is valued heavily, and if anyone shares the video and comments here, I could give them admin rank on a server of mine. On the off chance that a lot of people do, I'd need to enforce some limit, but in truth I am aiming for the stars. I might not hit here, so that's not really something I have to worry about, and if it does happen, then I'll take that any day. I know this isn't such a righteous goal for wanting so many subscribers like feeding family, but I really just want to aim high. I'm the kind of person who needs to be aiming Who needs to be aiming high, or I'll feel like I'm wasting my life. And right now, being big on YouTube is the highest I can aim. I'm at a point in my life where I've gotten everything I currently need. I just want to aim higher. And right now, YouTube is pretty much the highest I can aim. I'd like to thank you for watching. You're going to probably get annoyed by my horrible editing. And thank you. Please share, please like, please subscribe, and be sure to just tell me what you actually think. If you have any criticism, please give it. I might not be that active, but please try to stick with me.